All right, so we are continuing with our story from yesterday, the short history of a special plant, where we're learning about corn and how it was spread throughout the years. We started yesterday talking more about the past, right? The early Americans to the Native Americans, to the settlers. We read a little bit about the Corn Belt, the area of the United States where the majority of the corn is grown. And today we are starting off in more recent times. So corn for grain, 2010 production by county for selected states. So that's what this chart right here is showing us. It's, let's say, yeah, corn for grain. It's showing you how much corn is grown in different parts of the United States. And so you can see that it's measured in bushels. So we'll have to see how big a bushel is. But it's shown in bushels. So the darker the green, the more corn that's grown there. So you can tell that really that corn belt area is truly where the majority of the corn is grown. There is some spread all throughout other parts of the United States, but the majority of the corn that's grown is right in that corn belt region. Okay, Camden, thank you for asking to read The Rise of Industrial Farming.
With industrialization in the 1800s, new farming methods and technology began to change agriculture. American farmers continued to strive to grow strong, healthy corn plants that yield as much as possible. In the late 1800s, scientists developed hybrid corn, fertilizing one variety of corn with pollen and another variety makes hybrids that results is a new type of corn plant that is stronger and able to produce more seeds than either parent plant. This corn mixed favorable genetic traits and led to healthier varieties of corn and higher, faster yields.
Awesome. Yeah. So now it's not just the same old corn that those early Americans grew. Now we have hybrid corn. And I'm sure you guys have heard about hybrids, probably more talking about cars, right? But even corn has hybrid, other plants and vegetables and fruits, and there are hybrids of everything. We have hybrid corn, and this hybrid corn is stronger and able to produce more seeds than either one of the parent plants that were mixed together to create this hybrid. I'm going to put a little number 1 next to this because this is my first key detail that I want to remember. All right, Morgan, you're up next.
As more farmers used hybrid corn and higher, faster yields, as more farmers used hybrid corn, production rose. In 1933, the average yield was 33 bushels per acre. In 1997, the yield had increased to 127 bushels per acre. Today, corn is a staple crop of the Midwestern United States. 95% of corn acreage is planted with hybrid corn, and the average annual year is nearly 159 per acre.
All right. I'm looking up real quick. How much is in a bushel? Oh, how about, let me say a bushel of corn. Bushel of corn. A bushel of corn is, holy cow, this is crazy. A bushel of corn is about 60 pounds. Okay, so 60 pounds in a bushel. So 33 bushels would be 60 times 33, or what is that? I don't know. I can't do that math in my head right now. 180 plus another, holy cow. My brain is not functioning. Anyway, 33 times 60 It's this 0 that's getting in my way. I kept thinking 198, but I knew I was off by a 0. 1,980 pounds would be 33 bushels. Okay, so as the farmers start to use this hybrid corn, they can grow more and more corn because it's growing faster and it's stronger than those parent plants. So with this hybrid corn, production rose. We could create, well, not create, but we could grow more corn. That is our second key detail. Landon, you're up next.
Number 13.
Number 13.
Almost all corn in the United States grows from the hybrid seeds. Hybrid corn may even contain genetic material or DNA from other species altogether. Scientists have added DNA that makes GMO corn more resistant to insects and drought.
All right. Oh, keep going.
There's nothing else in that paragraph.
And did you end at drought?
Yeah.
Isn't the next word however?
Oh, yeah. What? Not on my book.
No.
Not in our book.
What?
It's different.
Well, that's no good because part of what I want you to highlight is in my part, but not in yours. That is so weird. Is mine the same as anybody's?
Oh,
No.
No.
What?
No.
So
That's not
anyway,
Two.
I think it's important that this corn that we have created, this hybrid corn, is more resistant to insects and drought. That is our third key detail. That is important. It's more resistant to insects and drought. And then I know your books doesn't have this, but I'm going to go ahead and highlight it because, however, so this is telling us we're going to go into some of the not so good parts. This GMO corn also has its drawbacks. So there are some bad things, some parts that aren't so positive about this new type of corn. What's that? All right, let's pause there because we've gone through and we've come up with some good key details. Let's go ahead and write a main idea for that. So we used this big word back in the beginning, industrialized.
Industrialized.
That's it. Industrialized farming led to the rise of hybrid corn. So industrialized farming is just more that farming. It's not just to feed your family or to feed just you. It's to sell the corn and to use it everywhere in the world. That's what industrialized means. It's not just that you're doing it for yourself. It's that it's now become a business. Rise of hybrid corn, which has dramatically increased production. But remember, now we're getting to this part that was in my book, but it's not in your guys's books. Oh, but has also made corn less safe.
Your screen is frozen.
My screen's frozen?
Yes.
Is it frozen for everybody?
No.
No. Yes. Not frozen.
No. Less safe and healthy. So it's not as safe and not as healthy in some ways. So there are benefits. We can grow more and it can withstand drought and it can withstand insects. but it's not necessarily as safe and healthy as other corn.
Can you show us the other page real quick? I forgot to write down the 1 and 2 and key details and stuff.
Yep,
Oh, come on.
I'll come back in just a minute.
Okay.
For page 17 that we were just on, you don't need to flip to it in a second, but for the paragraph, I didn't understand one word that was next to has.
Okay. I'm gonna
Okay,
flip
thank
back
you.
over. There we go, awesome. Which word, Ashlyn?
It's after the comma of production.
In mine? This one?
Yeah.
That says but. I just didn't close my. Whoop.
Miss Triplet.
Mm-hmm. All right, Hazel, can you read paragraph 14 for us?
Yeah. According to the National Corn Growers of America, more than 300 million metric tons of corn are harvested each year in the United States. However, today's industrial farming practices have led to a monoculture where growers raise one type of corn year after year. The success of hybrid corn and soybeans has led many growers to solely raise one cash crop instead of a variety.
All right. Well, I think that one was a little bit different too, but that's okay. We can still get some highlighting done here. So now we're into that monoculture. Mono means one. Okay, mono means one. So growers are just raising one type of corn. They're not changing it. They're not mixing it with other vegetables. They're not following that Three Sisters method. They are choosing one type of corn to grow year after year as their crop. So a monoculture where growers raise one type of corn, one type of crop, and the reason they're doing it is because of the success of the hybrid. The hybrid was so successful that, so they're like, well, I mean, have you guys ever heard the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? If something's working, why change it? If this corn is yielding so much, why am I gonna wanna grow something else? This one's doing its job just fine. So I'm gonna keep growing and keep growing and keep growing the same type of corn in the same field over and over and over again. You think that's a good idea? We'll find out.
Yes.
No.
Jaslyn, give us paragraph 15, please.
This is a good practice for earning money now. However, it could hurt profits and productivity in the future. The concentration on a single crop depletes the soil. The lack of variety is at odds with how soil functions and maintains balance. The invasion of one disease or pest could wipe out all of the corn crops.
Good. So no, it's not good. That concentration on a single crop depletes the soil. Depletes means it's going to keep taking and taking and taking away from the soil. It's taking it away from it. So like if say the crop needs the nitrogen that's in the soil, this crop needs nitrogen, but another crop doesn't need nitrogen. Well, if you're growing the same crop over and over again, it's taking and taking that nitrogen, and pretty soon there's no nitrogen left in the soil to grow that crop, so it's not going to grow well. So that concentration on a single crop really depletes the soil. Another problem, if you have all of the same crop and you haven't varied anything, if you get one little disease or pest, it could wipe out all of your crops because it's going to go after one type of crop. And if that's the only crop you have, you're not going to be too happy because all of those crops are going to be gone. Okay, that is our key detail number 6. Make sure that you've highlighted those 2 parts that contribute to our 6th key detail. And if I have someone new who wants to read, I've gone through my list, so send it to me in the chat. someone new. I said, if you've already read, let's see if we get some new people in there. Awesome, Miguel. Actually, before you start reading, Miguel, I wanted to give you guys one more second there. Let me talk about this table. So the table up top is our monoculture pros and cons. So the good and the bad things about just growing one crop. So the good things, the plants aren't competing against each other for space and for soil and sunlight and water, because it's all the same plant. You can control unprofitable organisms. So you can make sure that you're only growing the ones that you want to grow. Other things that aren't going to be a profit to you won't grow. Reduction of cost by limitation of specialized machinery. There are special machines that harvest the corn, that pick the corn for you. Well, if you are growing corn and say pumpkins, you can't use those same machines to harvest the corn that you're using to harvest the pumpkins. So you have to buy new machines. So if you only have one type of crop, then you only have to have one type of machine. And maximization of profit from the growing of high gross margin crops. Well, if that's a crop that's making lots of money, you're gonna wanna grow as much of it as possible. But here are the disadvantages. Increased vulnerability to pests. So you're gonna need to use more insecticides. So if you only have one type of crop, your crop is gonna have more pests attracted to it, which means you're gonna have to use more chemicals, more insecticides to kill those pests. And that's the last thing we want. We don't want them spraying all of our fruits and veggies with insecticides. Increased vulnerability to disease outbreaks. If one of your seeds has a disease in it and then grows, that disease can then spread to the others because they're the same type of plant. So that disease can spread quickly among your plants. Erosion and fertility affected by nutrient depletion of the soil. This is like I talked about with the nitrogen. If we're taking all of the nitrogen from the soil to grow this one plant, then you're not going to have enough nitrogen left in the soil to continue growing that plant. And then lack of biodiversity at odds with system balance and nutrient runoff more likely to pollute groundwater supplies. So again, just more ways contributing to the cons of monoculture. All right, oh my goodness. Miguel, look at that second word of paragraph 16.
I see it.
It's your paragraph, Miguel, go for it.
As Miguel,
Altieri?
Altieri, an insect biologist at UC Berkeley explains, until about 4 decades ago, yields were modest but stable. Production was safeguarded by yields were modest but stable. Production was safeguarded by growing more than one crop or variety in space and time in a field as insurance against pest outbreaks or severe weather. Inputs of nitrogen were gained by rotating major field crops with legumes. In turn, rotations suppressed insects, weeds, and disease by effectively breaking the life cycles of these pests. A typical corn belt farmer rotated corn with several crops, including soybeans and small grain. In these types of farming systems, signs of
environmental degradation
were seldom evident.
Woo! Lots of big words in there. Let's pull out the most important key detail from this paragraph. So the most important part of this is that inputs of nitrogen were gained by rotating major field crops. Okay, again, we want nitrogen in the soil. When you're growing vegetables, when you guys get older and start your own gardens, you're gonna wanna make sure that there's good nitrogen in the soil because that is something that the plants love. So inputs of nitrogen were gained by rotating major field crops. So by rotating their fields, they increase the nitrogen. Rotation also suppressed, or it brought down, the amount of insects, weeds, and diseases. So rotating field crops gave you more nitrogen, so it increased the nitrogen, and then suppressed means it brought it down. It brought down the amount of insects, weeds, and diseases. That is our 7th key idea. And Anna, why don't you bring it home with number 17?
As farming modernized, he explained, ecological principles were ignored and or overridden. Today, farming systems are extremely productive and competitive, but they also bring a variety of economic, environmental, and social problems. For these reasons, many biologists, like
Terry.
LRT, suggest a return to the practice of the 3 sisters, planting or crop rotation.
Good. Many biologists, this is what they all want. Many biologists suggest a return to the 3 sisters or crop rotation. They think that that is the best idea to make sure that you have a healthy and productive crop. That is our 8th key detail. All right. We have reached the end, which means we must need to write down a main idea. You guys ready for a really long sentence?
Yes.
I can't see the bottom that you highlighted.
Okay, so it's just the very bottom there. Okay. All right, I got to move it up though so I have enough room to write because it's a long.
Okay.
Ready? So we're going to start with that big old monoculture word, that growing of one crop. Monoculture, using hybrid corn, so that corn that is made by humans, using hybrid corn. It's profitable, it'll give us money, but it might hurt the environment. And the economy in the future. That's only a comma after that. That's not the end. I'm going to be checking yours after this, so make sure you're copying down with me. So some biologists suggest, like Miguel, going back to more natural farming, the farming like we did with the early Americans. Methods like the 3 sisters. You guys remember what the 3 sisters is? The 3 sisters method?
Yeah, where you grow corn, beans, and I think it's squash all together.
Yeah. Like going back to the 3 sisters method of planting, or crop rotation, where you grow something in your field and then you change to something else and then you change to something else. Or maybe you have 3 different fields and you just rotate around what's in each field. All right, let's get that one copied down. While you're writing, I'm going to talk to you guys about page 19. Page 19, it's kind of going over telling you how to grow corn. So it says corn will grow almost anywhere in the United States. There are many varieties of a corn plant. Sweet corn, such as corn on the cob, is often enjoyed by humans. Most American grown corn, however, is hard, chewy field corn, also called dent corn. Pigs and other livestock eat field corn whole. People usually grind it up and cook it. Cornmeal, grits, tortillas, cornbread, and cornflakes are all made from field corn. Popcorn is also made from field corn. So next time when your parents give you popcorn, you can say, this is the best field corn I've ever had. And then they go through the steps on how you would grow corn, what you need to grow corn. And I will tell you, you need lots of space if you're growing corn.